Hey folks, Aaron here. Welcome back to an anime review. Today we're looking at Be the Beginning. Now, Be the Beginning came out on Netflix all in one fell swoop. It was a 12 episode long series that came out, I want to say roughly a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now. And is very interesting because it's another one of Netflix's original series that they've been kind of pumping out as of late. I mean, it's been really cool to see Netflix really push out all these anime series and put a lot of money into them. So, I mean, they got Production IG to do it, and Production IG does some amazing work with their animation. So I was very happy with that. Now, I did want to have this review out a lot sooner to you guys and girls, but the thing was that I was watching this with my dad, and my dad works pretty hard. I've said this multiple times on Twitter, even on some of my YouTube videos. So we couldn't watch the series, and we couldn't really binge it. We had to watch it, on his time, and I wanted to make sure that we both enjoyed it for that fact. So, obviously, didn't really binge it. We watched it in spurts for the most part. Enough that, I retained the information of what happened in the last episode and all that, but more so, it took a little while to get to it. But in many ways, I think that for those who binged it, they might have felt that the show was a little too fast if you would have binged it. I think, watching it slower, because that's the beauty of watching some shows in your own time, and also even when they come out weekly, is that you get a kind of more fulfilled sense watching them. But, I mean, to each their own. Some people love binging and still feel like they get the same amount of experience from it. I personally think binging kind of sometimes could be a negative thing for watching a show than reviewing it. That's my own opinion. So Be the Beginning follows a very interesting story where we almost have this dual narrative of sorts going, where on one hand we have a mystery thriller, and on the other hand we have an action / psychological / supernatural type story. The main story focuses on a man named Keith Flick, who has just been hired by this Royal Police Force called the RIS team, and his job is to be in search for this killer, the serial killer called Killer Bee, because he leaves at the scene of the crime a giant bee etched into the wall or into the floor, or whatever he can. And meanwhile, we have this other story going on, which it's not really a spoiler, so I'm going to just blow it right away who the killer is. It's actually this young man named Koku, who's a strange human / I don't even want to know, it's like some kind of angel thing, and I'm not going to say what it is, because I do know the answer to it, obviously, but the thing is that I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But he's a human / angel creature that is, for the most part, killing all these people for a purpose. They're not good people he's killing. He's killing like serial killers and murderers and rapists and all this other stuff, but there is a purpose to it. And, we also have this other kind of side story going on in the background, which also makes everything come together in the form of a third organization that's going through called Market Maker. And Market Maker has another, I want to say, slew of weirdos and these supernatural beings that are going about, raising up crime and doing all these horrible things to humanity, but for a purpose that, no one really understands. So you have these various elements that all seem like different tales and narratives, but they all end up working to make a nice interwoven story, which I think is one of the best things about Be the Beginning. Keith's story is one of revenge and also just trying to figure out who this killer is and why they're doing what they're doing. But you also have Koku's story, who, as we find out in the series, there's a reason for his killings. There's a reason for him leaving these marks behind. And, it might not be so obvious, right away, because it's not trying to be. And even Market Maker, who they are and what they're doing, there's also a greater purpose behind it. So it's like all these different narratives are working together, even though they seem so standoffish at times. Now, the biggest problem with Be the Beginning for me, though, was that the first few episodes don't do a good job of kind of mitigating the almost craziness of the story. We have all these people and all these places being thrown into a blender almost of sorts in the first couple episodes that are just being shot at you so fast. Like, oh, here's RS, here's these people, here's this group of people, here's this enemy. It's just almost like baffling how anyone could really figure it out right away. But ultimately, I think that there was a reason for that, because after about maybe episode 3, I want to say, so episode 4 and onward, the story slows down to kind of create this atmosphere where you start realizing, okay, so we have this person who's our enemy, this person who's our ally, and this person who is an unknown variable. Koku, in many ways, you don't realize if he's really on the side of good, or is he on his own personal vendetta. It's like you don't figure that out until later in the story, but you do start realizing and start picking up the pieces of what's happening with his character and why he does things as the series progresses. Even with Keith is so stoic at times. He's this master sleuth of sorts that he's able to piece together big crime scenes just from looking at one little fabric or one little thing and being like, okay, so most likely this guy entered here and went to do this first and then attacked this way, and he was evil. There's a really cool scene, I think maybe around episode 8 or 9, where he's able to create a whole crime scene or a way of something happening exactly to the letter just from his mental thoughts of like, okay, so if this guy was doing this, they must have been entering the building this way and then coming out like that. Okay, no, that didn't work. And then he would replay it to make it work. I love that scene. I think that was so cool. I wish they would do that more in the series. But it goes to show you that Keith's kind of mentality, even though it's so strange and sometimes how it makes him almost come off like a kind of asshole at times in the series, there's a reason for it. And it comes off as really incredible to see in a character. In general, though, that's one of the Beginning's biggest strengths is the characters and just these awesome concepts that we have going on for it. You know, there's not a single character in the story that you don't want to know more about. And, you know, like, even the RIS members, even the ones that, you know, aren't utilized a lot, and there are several that aren't utilized that much, but even the ones that aren't, feel like they have some focal point in the story, or something that they do that ultimately brings the story together in some cohesive manner. And then, ironically, the same token, you know, one of the biggest weaknesses of the Beginning is that some of these characters could have used more limelight. Like, there are a few RIS members, and I'm not going to name who they are off the top of my head, because it's like, I don't want to spoil that either, but the same, because Be the Beginning is one of those really easy to spoil series. A few of them, like, they have their moments where they really do bring together a thing that happens and to make a cohesive element happen. So, like, one of the RIS members, I'm not going to say who, but is able to solve, or at least begin the process of solving who Killer Bee is because of one little thing, or one little movement that he did. And then it's like, oh, and I just kind of spoiled it because I said he, so it's one of the dudes on the team, but, you know, he does something and it causes Keith to come in and go, oh, I get it now, or I understand who attacked him, and, you know, then the whole thing goes out from there. It's like, yeah, but why do I care about this dude? Why should I care that he gets hurt ultimately during one process and almost dies in the thing? You know, it's like, what do I get from his character? And that's the biggest issue with that. It's like, they could have really delved into these characters sometimes a little bit more. Maybe gave them a little backstory here and there. And it's kind of a shame because, like, for example, one of the girls you meet, I think her name is, oh, I'm not even trying to remember her name. She's got blonde hair and she's like the computer whiz. But, you know, I love her character. I think she's like, besides being incredibly hot, I just love her character in general. And it's like, we never really understand why she's like that. Why is she so good with computers? What's her purpose beyond, you know, being that computer girl for the team? You know, it's not enough for that. Keith, Koku, Lily, who's one of the RIS team members, and even Gilbert, who's one of the characters that we meet very early on with Keith. He's apparently his, like, friend from college and all that, which there is more to him than meets the eye, obviously. But, you know, all these characters are really fleshed out. You know their purposes. You know what happened to them in the past, and you know why they do what they do. But lo and behold, the other ones kind of fall by the wayside and become these just extra characters thrown in. So it's like, it's a give and take with the characters. But Be the Beginning nonetheless has some cool characters that just ultimately make the story a lot better. Visually, the animation's solid. I mean, Production IG, I don't think I've really ever seen anything by Production IG that hasn't, like, blown me away in some form. Some of their movies sometimes are a little hit or miss, but usually their anime series are pretty nice, and I think Be the Beginning's biggest strength is definitely the use of these incredible shots. Like, there are times where characters are just thinking and the screens will show, like, all the words in their mind forming and all these little processes and stuff like that. I love that. And their action scenes during Koku fighting various of the market maker characters and all that are really cool to watch. Like, they just come off as really strong. There's also some other impressive things here and there, but I won't spoil those scenes because I don't want to. But let's just say the last couple episodes really blew me away. Some of the I want to say conflicts between some characters were just like, holy crap, they just were so spot on with the animation there. Musically too, the whole show sounds incredible. I mean, the OST is awesome. You know, what I hate is the opening, which I think is not really an opening. It's like this 3 or 5 second loop of this, like, weird noise that just comes out. It's really annoying. But the ending song, which I think many of you guys and girls should have known or heard of, at least from people tweeting it out. I mean, I tweeted out like several times myself. Was done by several people that are huge in the anime industry. You know, it's crazy that and even some of them weren't even in the anime industry. I think it's the guitarist is from Megadeth, and I believe one of the singers the main singer is from Man with a Mission, and I believe I forget the dude's name off the top of my head, but there was a recent song from Koku. One of those singers from there also did the bass or something like that for the song. it's just a whole bunch of people coming together to create this really epic ending song. And I'm like, why was that the opening? That should have been the opening. I think every episode starting off with that would have been so cool. But equally, though, you get used to it as the ending song, and there's a few times where it works really well for an ending song. So it's like, yeah, okay, I can't fault it for that. But I wish they would have had a better opening. I feel like the opening was just really terrible and underutilized. But overall enjoyment, that's what really should matter too about, Be the Beginning. I almost said Koku for a second, so I was thinking in my head. But Be the Beginning is one of those shows that it's going to be where you really will love it, or you might have some issues with it, because it really comes from how much you like crime mysteries with action elements. I mean, they're not for everyone. I understand. Sometimes Be the Beginning slow with its narrative because it's trying to like put together a mystery story and stuff like that. And then sometimes also there's some characters that are the villains right away, and it's like, oh, dude, I know that's the bad guy. Come on, what are you trying to hide it for? But that's the brilliance of the story is that regardless of that, you still can enjoy it, I think, especially if you like mystery stuff and especially if you like action shows. That's why if I had to give Be the Beginning a rating between an A through F, I'm going to have to give it a solid B+. I think that it's a good show. I really, really think it was very close to an A-. I mean, like, we're talking about an 89 probably like on my score in my mind, and I think I'm now having a 9 because I just wanted to round it off, but it's not an A-. Like, at times I really want to give it an A-, but at the same time there are a few issues with it here or there that keep it from an A-. So it's close, it's very close in my mind, but it just doesn't hit that note. But what do you guys think about Be the Beginning? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. As always, guys and girls, if you like my reviews, think about hitting the subscribe button and share the video around. Hit notifications, they're being notified, as they say. And I will talk to you guys later. Until our paths cross in the next review, God bless you all. Have a great, great day, everyone. Bye-bye.